Hello everybody and welcome to another RentalTrax how-to video. This time we are talking about creating your products, and we're going to break this up into two separate pieces because it is such a big part and such a big portion of your setup. So this is part one of your product setup. So what we're trying to do now is input our inventory into the system manually through a variety of different means so that we can separate the pieces that are going to be rental items, standard items, virtual, and package. So this time we're going to focus on rental and standard items. So to create a new product, we're going to first start on our products drop-down menu. We want to put our suppliers in first. And the reason we're going to put our suppliers in is that we are going to focus on making things easier for our staff. One way we can do that is by entering in the supplier list so that if we need to contact our supplier for any pieces, we have a database here that they can all access in their system. So for instance, when I click on this Event Decor Direct client, I can then see the company name, first and last name, maybe this is your contact name, their email address or their local address, and a phone number and an email to get a hold of that person. We want to create a database for that so that we can always have access to it, so that it doesn't matter. You don't always have to be, as the owner, the person that's getting in contact with them if you want your staff to quickly reach out to them. So set up your supplier list first. That's the first step. The next step is your categories. So our categories, we want to break these down into as low as possible. We don't want a category to be very, very broad. So this is for reporting purposes and also to separate your pieces so we can quickly search to see what is available. So if I have a category like tools, well, that is far too broad. Maybe we don't want to separate that down into the smaller pieces. Maybe we want to have down into wrenches, hammers. Maybe we want to get into power tools versus all different types of tools. Maybe in linens, for instance, we have a lot of clients in the special event industry. Linen is very broad. You want to get into maybe the type of linen, if it's satin, sheer, etc. Lighting is the same way. Don't put lighting in you get the picture. It continues to go on. You want to break it down into a lot more specific. So lighting here should maybe be changed to uplighting. That way I know that those are all my uplights and that I can continue to create pieces like that. So you can create blanket categories if you like for audio equipment if you do multiple different types, or to manage your inventory properly, get right down to it. So I can say audio equipment is actually broken into speakers or stands, etc. Break your categories down that way and use it. Also, if you're using our product import for the first setup, this list on the left-hand side of the numbers are associated with your categories. That's the number you're using to fill in the template. So if you haven't seen our template video yet, make sure you look that out, but that's the reference there. So set up your categories after you've done your suppliers, and then we can continue to move on. We can set up our factor group. I'm going to go to our factor master here. So what the factor group is going to do is it sets our multipliers. So for instance, if a client rents from you for a 7-day period, if you charge them $10 per day, it's a $70 charge. But some of our clients and some businesses set up a model where you rent for 7 days, but you only pay for 5. So in that case, my 7 days factor here, I would set it to 5. What the text field is doing is it's setting a multiplier. It's saying that that multiplier is going to if you rent something for 7 days, it's going to multiply the base price times this factor, so times 5. Set up your factors based on your business model. It's completely up to you. It's completely dependent on business models, so go through and take some time to do that. And I'm going through this a little bit fast because there are individual videos on each of these items as well, but we're just touching on them. The next is your tax class. So you want to set up your local tax class in here, whether it's HST. In Canada, we charge HST for 13%. Canada HST 13% is in Ontario. There's many different, depending on the region you're in, you might have state tax, local tax, etc. So you create your tax class, and we're going to assign that rate to the products later. Then I'm going to go up and I'm going to create a product. So here's where we're going to focus on rental and standard. So for now, I click on new product and I want to choose rental. I'm going to click the little bubble. A rental item is any item that is leaving your inventory with an expected date of return. So you know that it's going to come back. Then all of the work we put in beforehand is going to come into play. So my category dropdown, I can select the category I want to do. So for instance, I will choose uplighting. I'm then going to set my tax class at 13% so that I know the 13% tax is being charged on this item. I'm going to call this a 6-inch floor uplight. My barcode, if I'm using the barcode module, I can attach in there as well. This name is not what the client's going to see. So remember that. It's not what the client is going to be seeing. You're going to set that down below. Then I'm going to say whether the product is active or inactive. You can't delete your products from the system. You can set them to active or inactive. And the reason is if you deleted it, it would mess up the entire reporting structure. So we set them to active or inactive. Then I'm going to set my standard price for the product, my base price. So I'm going to say I rent this light for $8 per rental. $8 per day, essentially, sorry. So we set our standard price for the product. The next price I need to know is my cost price. So this is the price that it charges you to rent. So if there's a setup involved, if there is any kind of a charging, maybe you have to charge this light, maybe if you're doing linens or anything like that, what is your cost of cleaning it? If you're using tools, what is your cost of maybe delivery plus setup or instruction, etc. So I'm going to say it costs me about $1.25 to use this product so that I can rent out. Each time I rent one of these uplights, it costs me $1.25. So I profit $6.75. That's what we're really trying to get to, is how much profit are you making? Revenue is great, but profit is the key factor. We want to know how much we're making. I can then set my factor group like I chose before from my factor when I set up my factor master. And then the replacement price is different than our cost price. The replacement price is what would it cost if I had to buy this light again. Also keep in mind that if you lose that light, you can't rent it out for a little while. So you want to factor that into it as well. So if this light costs me $80 to purchase, I'm actually going to say my replacement price is $100 because I miss out on potentially 3 to 4 days worth of rental from it as well. My number in stock, I'm going to set to 20 because I have 20 of them as well. And then I can set my weight here down at the bottom, and I'll say it's 1. The kilograms here is actually just denoting a different weight type. You can change it later on if you do your weight in pounds. That's no problem. You just change your paperwork in the order layout to denote that it is in pounds. It's up to you. This is just a text field. So I'm going to enter it in as 1 pound, and then on my order layout, I'll adjust it later to show that it's pounds, not kilograms. My location this is to help out my staff in the warehouse. So I'm going to say that it's in the warehouse, but that's not enough information. That's leaving them kind of high and dry without any information that they need. I'm going to say it's in the warehouse, section 2, aisle 3. That way they know when they go into the warehouse, that's exactly where they're going to look for it. I'm going to call this, now this order text box is where the client is going to see. So I'm going to call it a white light, floor up light, 6-inch. Sure. However you want to explain it to your client, that's up to you. So you put that information in there. And then I'm going to select my dealer from my group. I'm going to say I bought these from Event Decor Direct. And you can add a short description if you like down at the bottom. It's completely up to you. I'm going to leave it blank for now for time's sake and move forward. The next tabs along the top are going to help you set up the rest of your product. So for instance, the files, I can attach any PDF file I like here. So if I wanted to attach a picture of the light or maybe a safety instructions of this light, I can attach it here. And then when I choose to send product files to my client, those files will be attached as well. And then I can even break it down into serial numbers. So I said I had 20 of these products, so I can add a serial number all the way up to 20 of these and call this floor up 1, 2, 3. And once again, if I had a barcode, I could attach it as well, and I can add as many serial numbers as I like up until my total amount. And the dark gray tabs along the top are explained later in our web shop video. So don't worry about those right now unless you have purchased our web shop to do an online store and an online checkout process. If you have, these tabs will be active. If you haven't, then these tabs are not available on your screen. No problem. If you want to learn more about these tabs, view the web shop how-to video. So that's it for creating our rental product. I'm going to save that. And it's going to bring me back to my general screen here. I'm going to save and close, and I've now created a rental item in my system, which I can see if I go to list products and I type in to the name, look up floor, there's my 6-inch floor uplight. I've got 20 of them at 13%. Also, when you're looking at it in your list products view, you have the buttons along the top to create your new items. So if I wanted to create a standard item, very similar to our rental item, however, the difference is in this situation, it's not expected to return. This item is a sale item. It's not expected to come back to your inventory. The setup is exactly the same. All of the categories are the exact same. However, this item is not expected to return. That's the difference. So if you do candles, maybe you supply nails for a job site, screws, stuff that is expected to be used and not returned to your inventory, you create as a standard item in your system. So you know how many of those you have. That's it for part 1. for the how-to video on setting up your products. We'll get into virtual and product packages next, so make sure you check out that product. Go through, pay a lot of attention to how you set up your products. If you have any questions, you can give us a call at 888-925-6236. That's 888-925-6236. Send us an email at info@rentaltrax.com. You can always view the how-to videos or check us out online at www.rentaltrax.com.